Good evening. It is time for the divisional recap edition of the Iman Report. It is Sunday, January 17th. If you like what you see, please be kind and hit that subscribe button and give this channel a big like. It is, we'll of course, start off with the game that ended most recent. The Saints lose to the Buccaneers 30-20 in what could very likely be the final game of Drew Brees' career. And sadly, it goes out with a whimper. Drew Brees throws three interceptions and has an awful passer rating of 38.1 in this game. And pretty much Brees' weapons were held in check. Emmanuel Sanders was okay, but Michael Thomas was pretty much held in check in this game. Nothing from Michael Thomas tonight. And really, the Saints could not get some offense going in this game. The Buccaneers' defense was really good, in double trouble with Fournette and Jones today. They were able to run the ball down the Saints' throat, and Tampa Bay just did enough to get the win, and Tampa Bay just took advantage of the Saints' turnovers in this game. Now Tampa Bay, all of a sudden, could be hosting a Super Bowl, could be the first team to host a Super Bowl. That is a real possibility. We'll get to the Packers a little bit later. But all of a sudden, the Buccaneers' chances of making the Super Bowl have just gone way up with their defense the way they played. This job certainly could, of course, now Bruce Arians, without any doubt, will be back in the 2021 campaign. As for Drew Brees, he's likely retired. And honestly, I would not want him to come back next year. He's had a great career, but this year he has shown signs that he's pretty much finished. He can't throw football more than 20 yards anymore. He doesn't have the deep ball anymore, and it's just maybe time to start moving on from Drew Brees. And the Saints, unfortunately, their salary situation is not all that wonderful this offseason. So the Saints could be taking a big step back in the 2021 season, with Atlanta likely to get better with Arthur Smith coaching, Carolina likely to get better in year 2 of Matt Rule. All of a sudden, the Saints could be looking at the bottom next year. And this could really be the end of the Saints' run for a good while. As for Brees, he's got a comfortable career next year at NBC. You could see a 3-man crew next year with Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, and Drew Brees. They could, but they are also grooming Mike Tirico to replace Al Michaels. And, honestly, I would not be crying if we end up with Tirico and Brees next year being the new announcing crew for Sunday Night Football. There, of course, you got Monday Night Football that could be moving back to ABC next year. So that could be interesting, but certainly Drew Brees, I wish him a happy retirement. He will be a good color commentator in the NFL if this was certainly his last game. But as for the Saints, they are likely to bring back, it could be a lot of Jameis Winston next year and Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill definitely shown he is not a starting caliber quarterback. You could go with, certainly you could go with Jameis Winston as a bridge quarterback next year. And with the Saints probably going to regress quite a bit next year, you could, if all else fails, maybe go for a guy like Sam Howell or Spencer Rattler or Kadion Slovis in the 2022 draft. So I kind of think this is an end of a run for the end of an era for the Saints, so to say. Nobody else will wear number 9 in New Orleans, and I wish Drew Brees a very happy retirement. As for the Buccaneers, I tip my hat to them. They actually solved They shut down Alvin Kamara for the most part. They shut down Michael Thomas and made Drew Brees one-dimensional. And now they will go to Lambeau to play the Green Bay Packers next week. Let's go to the next game on the docket. The Buccaneers will be facing the Green Bay Packers. They beat the LA Rams 32-18 in a game where Jared Goff was not exactly horrible, but Green Bay's offense outlasted the Rams defense in this one, and the lack of Aaron Donald really showed up in this game. As Aaron Rodgers almost threw for 300 yards, Aaron Jones almost rushed for 100 yards, and it's not just Devontae Adams anymore. It's Valdez-Scantling. It's Robert Tonyan. It's Allen Lazard. This is a much deeper Green Bay team, and they can play defense when they need to. Problem is now they will face a defense that has had another tough defense in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Buccaneers do have a win over the Packers. As for the Rams, they have indicated that they could be looking for upgrades at quarterback next year, and they could be in the market for Deshaun Watson by maybe offloading. They could swap bad contracts with. They could. Well, maybe not. The Rams don't exactly have the greatest draft capital, but they could upgrade the backup position and bring in some competition for Jared Goff. Certainly, Sean McVay is getting a little frustrated with the poor quarterback play of Jared Goff, so they certainly could be looking for. The Rams could look for upgrades at quarterbacks this offseason. Rams could be another team that could. Well, maybe not, but maybe could be primed for a little bit of regression next year, or we'll see what happens. But McVay getting back to the playoffs, the Rams getting back to the playoffs, good for them, but good for Green Bay. They set up it will be next week a Rodgers-Brady NFC Championship game. It will be must-see TV in Lambeau next week. But with the Saints... Speaking of the Saints for a moment, it is now official. Dan Campbell will be the new head coach of the Detroit Lions. Now that the Saints have been eliminated, Campbell is now going to be formally hired by the Detroit Lions. Which could be a beginning of a long rebuild in Detroit. Hopefully, they will do the right thing now. Next thing they've got to do is to move on from Matthew Stafford, get Stafford to a contender next year, and probably try to tank for Sam Howell in 2022. Then go for go for Sam Howell in the next year's draft, or we'll see if the Lions draft a quarterback in this year's draft. We'll see what happens there. Now on to the AFC side of things. The Buffalo Bills beat the Baltimore Ravens 17-3. They shut down Lamar Jackson. They shut down the run game. Josh Allen wasn't great, but he was good enough. But the Buffalo defense came in and did the job for Buffalo. And Stephon Diggs had the dagger in this one. If it weren't for Diggs, this could have been a whole different game for Buffalo. But Diggs is the guy who's really given Josh Allen getting close to that elite status. And all of a sudden, Buffalo could be on their way to the Super Bowl. But Lamar, they shut down Lamar Jackson. And maybe it's time for Maybe it's time to second guess Lamar Jackson a bit. Maybe next year they got to see if Lamar could be more of a pocket quarterback. And we've seen Lamar Jackson take a couple injuries this year. That's got to be a little bit concerning if you are Baltimore going into this offseason. Is a potential for more injuries coming from Lamar Jackson's running. So Lamar's going to have to be more of a passer going into the 2021 campaign. And last but not least, the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Cleveland Browns 22-17 in a game where Cleveland could have won it. Unfortunately, Patrick Mahomes left this game with a concussion. Chad Henne did okay for a backup. Darrell Williams did decent. But some of the mistakes by Kevin Stefanski ended up costing the Cleveland Browns the game. But Cleveland is nowhere by means done. They're set up for a good run next year. The Browns could be actually the team that could come out of the AFC North in 2021. Baker's starting to show that now Cleveland's got stability at quarterback, maybe finally some stability at coaching. They've got Nick Chubb. They've got Myles Garrett. This Cleveland team could be a team that contends for years to come. And there's no shame in losing to the Kansas City Chiefs. As for Kansas City, the big question next week is, will Patrick Mahomes be available, and can he get out of concussion protocol this week? If Kansas City is without Patrick Mahomes next week, it will be a lot more difficult to beat Josh Allen with Chad Henne starting and having Matt Moore be the backup. So definitely the Chiefs need Patrick Mahomes back if they want any sort of chance to beat Buffalo next week at home. The only advantage is they will be at noisy Arrowhead Stadium. Even at limited capacity, that stadium is still loud. But we look forward to next week's championship games. We'll be back Wednesday evening to recap UFC on ESPN. Magny versus Chiesa. Everybody have a good night. Stay safe. Have a good Martin Luther King Day.